And we've been talking through a lot of different things with Jeff, but one of the things we wanted to, obviously you are in coaching, you're doing mentoring work and all that. Who inspires you and why?
Yeah, I mentioned a little bit earlier, a praying mom that always inspired me. And then I'm the last of 4 boys, and so I have 3 older brothers. All of them, as I was a young boy, I could watch their lives, and they did not lead me astray. They modeled for me what a faith walk looks like. I remember my brother Kevin, who's the third in the lineup, being a goofball 10-year-old kid and just bursting into his room one evening, and he was down on his knees praying in his bed.
Wow.
And that was the first time that I thought, wow, this is for real. This is what a prayer life looks like. And I realized that I had not taken my sandals off and that I was standing on holy ground. And so I just quietly backed out of that room and closed the door. And I've told him about that many times. But, those kind of moments inspire me to think that's what the real deal looks like.
That's great.
So from a family perspective, it would be that.
Okay.
The other thing that I would say, and we've talked some about millennials and 20-somethings, is it can sound overly simple to go, well, I just love 20-somethings, but I really do. I really, really do. I feel like I fill a space in their life somehow that they're away from home. They may be in their first job, but yet they still have a lot of doubts. They still have some uncertainties. And like all of us, they're a little hesitant to reveal those fears and insecurities.
Right.
And so, but I admire them so much because they want to change the world.
Yeah.
Right.
That's going back to mission and purpose is so important to them. And I love that.
Well, Jeff, I'm wondering, does that connect with your top strength at all? Or one of your top?
It does some. Yeah, Maximizer's my number one. And so my greatest joy is helping them become everything God intended them to be. So certainly my Maximizer comes into play there. But learner is also big. That's my number 3. So I guess it's kind of good. I've been in higher ed for 20 plus years.
Yeah.
So yeah, absolutely. My strength set causes me to love that learning phase that is college, and then the young professional years. If it's someone who goes right into work and maybe they're 20 and they're like, I don't know what to do with my next step in my career.
Well, we're going to talk a little bit more about that Strength Finders assessment in just a moment.
Okay.
But what do you do to encourage the people that you work with?
Well, a key that we talked about with StrengthsFinder is that it focuses on what's right about you. And I love telling that story of different people who've communicated back to me about how good that is for them to have an affirmation from some other source that says, these are the greatest thing. Here's what you're exceptionally good at. And so to just be able to encourage people and to recognize their gifts, that's where the mentoring, the coaching is so meaningful to me, because I can see things in them that they can't really own yet. But I may say, young man, young lady, you are so capable in this area, and I think you're going to be terrific.
Well, even as adults, a lot of times we know maybe what our gifts are and our strengths are, but then we can get sidetracked with all the other distractions. And so, yes, we may know this, but working with somebody like you that's an expert in this assessment that can coach, mentor, and guide really is going to help us utilize that and step into that calling that God has for us, right?
Yeah,
to really
absolutely.
maximize that, like you said earlier.
Yeah, and especially with all the depression going on with younger people today and all it's just like, wow, so what you're
They're
doing
looking
is really...
for hope.
Yeah.
Oh, man.
They really are.
It is so important, What kind of resources do you recommend for people? Because you're out there also working with companies. And maybe before we get into that a little bit, why don't you tell us a little bit of story as to how you've helped some people in companies or companies themselves?
Sure. Yeah, I work across the spectrum of sometimes, it's a banking organization. Sometimes it is a nonprofit or or an organization that's serving specific needs in the nonprofit sector. I've worked with a chain of fitness centers because they're really committed to developing their people. And so their leadership team, I've spent multiple time with them. And so that's been exciting to see across the different venues that it translates, because it connects not with some external cue, but it connects with who they are and the best things about them. So whether they're a trainer, or they're a banker, or they're a therapist in a residential setting for special needs students, whatever that would be, they can see the connection of their strengths and what they do.
Well, the other thing, too, those are roles. What you're really getting to is their identity.
Yeah.
And that's a big thing that we coach and train on, and there's a big wall separating those two things.
That's right.
Because I tell people, your identity is you're a perfect 10. You were 10 before you got here, you're 10 now that you're here, and you're 10 going out, because God doesn't create junk.
Right. Absolutely.
And so I just love the mission you're on with people. But have you got an example of a company you work with real quick?
Yeah, sure. I mentioned the fitness chain of fitness centers. They originally had me come in, and their two main lead people, the CEO and one of the franchisees, and I just met with the two of them, and they said, hey, somebody told me that you had done a training seminar for them, and we really want to launch our learning and development. Could you work with us and tell us about strengths,
Nice.
And so it started probably a year and a half ago with a conversation like that. And then they said, we want you to do a lunch and learn, because our managing team from all the locations comes together once a month. And then they had me come and do another one. And then just on and on it goes, to where last January they had me come to their company leadership summit and build on that. So the first thing was really, that strengths discovery and just learning about my strengths. But then that afternoon we spent together in January was, how do you build a strengths-based organization?
Wow.
Not just I take it and I file it away, but I take it, it becomes a part of the language of our organization. It becomes a part of how we manage and evaluate our people.
Yeah, I think you hit on something really important there, is that you don't want to just take these assessments and then not really implement it, not really understand it, not know how to incorporate that into your life. And so you wrote an article called Strengths and Journey and the Journey Towards Your Best Self. And we're going to give all of our listeners that'll give them a glimpse into that, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay, and just make sure that you text us here to Faith Marketplace 224-404-1988 with the keyword strengths. And you're also going to be entered to win a free coaching call with Jeff. Can you tell us a little bit more about that too, Jeff?
Sure. I'm excited to talk to whoever winds up being our winner. But one of the important things in any coaching conversation is really to just find out what the lay of the land is for them. What are they facing? What are they up against? What are areas that they know they struggle, but they don't seem to have great solutions? Well, in that conversation, we can kind of identify those. And then as a coach, I just offer a possibility. I don't tell people what to do, really. I just kind of say, well, here's a couple things you might want to think about. Maybe try this between now and our next client appointment if it were an ongoing thing. And, try some, I give them some different tools where they can try that and go, you know what? I did so much better on my productivity, or I did so much better on my touch points with my staff by that little reminder.
And how long are these calls usually?
Usually a first intake when I meet with someone, if it's in person, it'll sometimes can run a full hour. But when it's just a intake call to just say, hey, where are you at? And what kind of things might I help you with? It's a 30, 40-minute conversation to just kind of give them some things to think about, and then we can leave it at that.
Yeah, I know these type of calls are really powerful. There's a lot of value. So make sure that you send us a message.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to that.
We always like to find out what is amazing, cool, or just somebody doesn't know about you, Jeff. So what would that be?
Well, as I think about that, was something it goes back to my, I can't stop talking about strengths.
Right.
But that particular study that I did in 2001 with a Gallup organization, I didn't know till later that no one had conducted a research study ever, because it was a newer tool. They'd done research, but no one had done a study to that point with first-time college students, and I evaluated what their impact, the training was on their academic outcomes, their hours earned, et cetera, and their retention to the next semester. And so I guess that's my little 15 minutes of fame, was that study was the first time that Gallup had ever studied college students in strengths.
Wow.
If you guys can't pick up on it out there, you should see him in studio here. If you can't hear that passion in this guy's voice, there's something wrong with you.
And apparently a lot of other people are passionate about this assessment,
absolutely.
because how many people have taken this?
It's now over 21 million people globally.
Wow.
And
21 million.
yeah, and it literally is rolling by thousands and thousands a day.
Yeah.
Many colleges and universities in the setting that I am in give this to their entire new class. That's what all of that does. Every new student gets their StrengthsFinder results before they ever start with us.
Great way to
That's
start.
amazing. Yeah. Usually when I work with my clients too, we have them take a couple assessments. This is one included, and spiritual gifts. So that's really great. How can people get in touch with you and find out more?
Sure. In terms of email, they can just send me a note at jeff@coachmentorguide.com. That's Jeff. I guess there's some variations on that. Jeff@coachmentorguide.com, or they can go to the website, same www.coachmentorguide.com, and drop me a note there.